Hey everybody, this is Chris with Overclockersclub. I've got a nice cooler here from Fractal Design. This is the Celsius S36. Let's get it out of the box. So this unit here does come in a couple different varieties. You can get it with the black fans, which is what I've got today, or white. Actually, the fan blades themselves are white if you want that kind of an accent. So, that's a pretty nice owner's manual there, user's manual, user guide. A lot of times these things are really small and they leave a lot out, but this one, those are all your dimensions, physical dimensions, pump and fan curves. Oh, that's nice. Pump specifications, fan specifications. Very nice, very nice. Alright, but let's go through the details here. So we got the 3 fans, and again these are the black variety. Has the black fan blade there. These are dynamic X2 GP12 Pwm fans. The RPM range is 500 to 2000, 12 volt, 0.2 amp draw, and it is 120 millimeter. You can see it has the little contoured blades there. Those are usually on there to reduce sound when they're running at full speed. And you can see it is a 4-pin PWM connector, and there are 3 of those. Now you might notice the fan lead there is fairly short. That's only about a foot long, and there's a reason for that, which we'll see here in just a moment. There's the mounting, some of the mounting hardware there. And this is, of course, a 360 millimeter radiator. That's it for the hardware. You always want to be careful when you handle these radiators. The fins are usually very fragile, and it doesn't take much, just a very simple bump, and you can really do some damage. I went ahead and pulled the protective plastic bags off. They're kind of noisy, but you can see the thermal paste comes pre-applied from the factory, and there's a protective plastic cover here so you don't smudge or smear the thermal paste. But what really stands out, what I noticed other than the overall size, because that is a 360 millimeter radiator, if you look here on the end of the tank, there are actually 3 little fan connectors. And that is why the fan only needs a lead that is that long. We don't need a 3-foot fan connector there to go around the case, because we go right here to the radiator, which I think is great. That really is a huge improvement for your cable management, because now I have 3 short sections that go here to this built-in fan hub. Now the way the power gets to this little fan hub, you still plug your fan, or your pump actually, into your motherboard. But built into this tube right here, into the sheathing, underneath the sheathing, there's a line, a power cable, and it comes out. If I can get this up here where you can see it. It comes out right here from underneath the fitting. And that is what gets the power over here to the fan hub. That's a really clever idea, and again that goes a really long way towards keeping your cable clutter down in your system. Great idea, Fractal Design. I love it. Now the pump is very shallow. It's not very tall. Sometimes these pumps are really thick, but this one is very, very low profile. The radiator is pretty standard, pretty typical for a 360 millimeter radiator. Again, like I said, these fins are very fragile, so you want to be careful. Now, if you're not real sure how these things work, a lot of people think that the coolant just goes all the way down. Actually, there's a little baffle right here. You can see this dimple. There's actually a plate in there that separates the tank into 2 sides. So what happens, easier to show it this way, coolant comes in one line and it goes down 1/2 of the radiator. Goes all the way to the end, makes a U-turn here at the end of the tank, or this end tank, comes up, and then it travels the rest of the distance back. So it's really, if you've got a 360 millimeter radiator, the coolant is traveling twice that distance. So 360 down and 360 back over to the exit side. And that little baffle in the center there is what separates the two tanks and allows that to happen, because you don't want your coolant to mix. You want your hot coolant to go down one side, cool off, and then come back to the other side, of course cooler than when it went in. So again, that's really a great idea, putting the little fan hub right there on the radiator tank. I've never seen a cooler like that before, and I've seen a lot of coolers, but that's a first. Pump specifications, which, let's see. Pump speed, the maximum, it goes from 1950 to 3150 RPMs. So there's quite a range there, quite a variation in your pump speed. Let's see. Liquid flow, 40 liters per hour or 0.18 GPM or 0.18 gallons per minute. So that sort of gives you the specifications on the pump. Mounting hardware. Let's see here. We've got everything we need for your regular Intel and AMD install, and that's what these brackets here are for. And I almost forgot to point out here something that's nice. Again, the heavy sheathing, the nylon braided covers, but the fittings, the connectors down here at the bottom, they have the Fractal Design logo on them. They're very nice, very robust. And another thing is these are pre-filled with all the coolant that you need. And if you shake it, you can hear there's the water in there, and there's also a little bit of air, and that's normal. You have to have a little bit of air for expansion when the coolant warms up, but that's normal. Now the motherboard I'll be using is this older Z87 with a 4770K. I crank it up to 4.2 gigahertz, and we use Prime 95 to stress test the CPU. And then we look at the temperatures. I try to hold the temperature in the room here, depending upon the season. Now I'm getting closer to summer. I'd actually done some initial testing on this in the Fractal Design Define 7 case. I mounted the radiator in the front of the case and in the top, and we'll see what the numbers look like there. But this is the motherboard here that we'll be using. And another thing to point out here, on the pump there's this protective plastic. It's actually more like a vinyl cover. But you can see right there it's upside down sort of, but it says auto and PWM. But you can actually rotate this ring here on the pump, and you can switch between PWM and auto mode for your fan control. Because if you remember, the fan header is over here on the radiator, so that's how you can you have two modes of fan control. And the mounting system here for the bracket on the pump is pretty nice. So right now I've got the Intel bracket on there. It comes that way. But this whole bracket here, you just give it a twist and it pops off. And if you want to switch to an AMD installation, this is your AMD bracket. It just pops on there, or it should just pop on there. There you go. And then you rotate it and it locks in. So it's that easy. But since I'm doing an Intel installation, we'll put it on there. And then you can clock this to whatever position to make the pump line up best, depending upon what orientation you have everything in your case. But anyway, that's how that interchanges. This is the Fractal Design Define 7 case, and when I did the review on the case, I went ahead and installed this S36 cooler in the front, and it's a little hard to see with the plastic. I put that back on the glass. But I put the cooler in the front, and I also put it in the top. And you can check out that review to see what this case is like if you want to. But when I did that, it was a little cooler in the room. So it's a little warmer now, and we're close to 74 degrees. I'll try to maintain that. When I did the original testing in the case, it was like 66. So I'll go ahead and get this cooler installed in the motherboard, and I'll do this test. I'll be using the same motherboard and CPU as I did when I had this all in the case. But I'll do it with the cooler out in the open here. So the two variables that change are the temperature in the room, and the cooler will be basically out in the open, and it won't be in a case. So we'll see what the numbers look like. All right, I've got the overclock cranked up. Temperature in the room has gone up about a degree or so. We started around 74-ish, tick above 74, and we're holding pretty steady here at 72°C through this testing using Prime 95. Fan speed is steady. Fan noise is not bad at all. We're running in PWM mode. I'll change it to auto mode and see what difference it makes. Now in the manual here it does show a couple of different fan curves. This over here is when it's in auto mode. This is PWM mode. So in auto mode your fans and your pump gradually ramp up as your temperature goes up. Over here it's more of a steady state pump and fan speed, and then we reach about 55°C and then it takes a quick shot upwards. So I'll switch that over to PWM mode. I'm sorry, actually auto mode. It's in PWM now. And I'll get some thermal imaging of the radiator, and I'll check the decibels out too. Alright, so time for a little thermal camera fun. I still have it in auto mode, so the fan speed has dropped and the temperature is slowly creeping up. We're sitting around 80 degrees Celsius now. But you can see here there is definitely a distinction between one half of the radiator and the other. And the reason that is, a lot of people think all of the coolant flows from one end to the other, and it does, but it does it through one half of the radiator. So on this end of the radiator over here where I'm pointing, there's actually a baffle, and that allows coolant coming in from the hot side right there to travel down the radiator the full length, and then it makes a U-turn here at the end, and then it travels back the full length of the radiator again to the exit side, which it should be cooler. Right there around 35 is what it's showing on that fitting. We come down to this side and it's around 39, give or take. So that's what the radiator looks like. This side on the fans, you can see the hot spot in the center where the motors are for each fan. By hot spot, I just mean it's just a little bit warmer than the other areas. And then looking at the motherboard itself, you can definitely see where the VRM is pretty toasty there. Of course, we don't have any real air circulating across there like you would in a case, since this is sort of out in the open. And the pump is very cool. And it is still turning at around 1950 RPMs. It hasn't really kicked up any. So everything is quiet, and we're sitting around 81 degrees Celsius at the moment. So this is on the inlet side of the radiator. As soon as I stop talking, it'll drop back down. And on the exhaust side, it's just a little bit higher, not much. Of course, down here it says this is CPU fan, but this is actually the tachometer lead coming from the pump, so there's your pump speed actually. So when we switch it over here to auto mode, of course the fan speed immediately drops, and our pump speed of course drops also by close to 1,000 RPMs. So my guess is we'll see the temperatures creep up a little bit here, but I'll monitor it and see if there's a change of state. And there we are, we've been holding right at 81°C. Pump RPM there is still a little below 2,000. The fans are just dead quiet. I can definitely feel the warm air being pushed out on this side. And the tank is warm to the touch. But in this auto mode, it seems to be running quite well. So like I said, we're holding around 80, 81°C. So just for the heck of it now, I'm going to switch it back to the PWM mode. Of course, fan speed kicked up. And it'll be interesting to see the temperature there, how fast it drops. Yeah, we're already down to 75. 73, we're going right back to where we were. So that's impressive. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and kill the stress testing and we'll see the RPMs come way down. And the temperature takes a quick drop. We're already down to 35°C. And the fan noise is almost completely stopped as the fan RPM has dropped. Pump RPM dropped to around 1900, 1950. And it's quiet, so again, very impressed with the performance. The next couple of clips are from when I did some testing in the Define 7 case from Fractal Design. And for some general thermal testing, I try to keep the room around 66 degrees Fahrenheit this time of the year. My overclock is 4.2 gigahertz and I'm hovering somewhere between 70 and 72 degrees Celsius. And that is all maintained with a single rear 140 millimeter case fan and the three 120 millimeter fans that come with the Celsius S36. Of course, you can't see the fans, they're behind the radiator. But you have plenty of room for more fans. Hard to see with the reflection there, but you can put more fans in the top of the case. You can even put fans in the bottom of the case to really maximize your airflow. But the current setup, the way it is right now, I would be perfectly content with running it that way, knowing that I'm going to be able to keep everything reasonably cool. And with the same 4.2 gigahertz overclock, same Prime 95 stress testing the CPU, with the radiator at the top, I'm getting the same temperatures. I gotta say, this S36 from Fractal Design is rather impressive. And there are a couple different flavors that have come out here. There's the S36 right there, and again, it's available in the black or the version there with the white fans. But what I was going to say is, if you don't like the RGB stuff, then this is definitely one for you. It doesn't have all the fancy RGB lighting, but they do have a Celsius S36 Dynamic, which has the RGB effects on the pump, as you can see there. And then we have the Prisma, the S36 Prisma, which has the RGB fans. But obviously this one here does just fine. Pricing, I've seen this anywhere from $120 to $140. Just depends on where you do your shopping. I think that's a great price for what I'm seeing here, performance-wise, and the way they did their cable management. That's awesome. Now you have to remember, with any cooler, your mileage will vary. The type of case you use, the number of case fans, temperature in the room, all of those things, as well as overclocking, of course, have an effect on the performance and efficiency of the cooler. So you need to keep that in mind. These numbers here that I'm getting today are with this 4770K. There are a number of processors that will give different results, especially if you have more heat in your system. So anyway, I would give this the Overclockersclub Editor's Choice Award. I would say this cooler definitely earned it. So this is Chris with Overclockersclub. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.